If you realize, Israel started by targeting the scientists first. They started an assassination campaign against scientists long before the war.
Now, this is a random one, but lazima we had to bring the vibes to you. We are here for the launch. Nimekuja launch ya Blade Wisdom, kitabu ya Dr. Stanley Rewire, one of the finest surgeons in the country. A very inspirational book, very good vibes. Na sasa nawaambianga there is no shortage of brilliant people in Kenya. So I stumbled upon a gentleman, one of the 20 neurologists in Kenya. Na introduction, interestingly, before the camera started rolling, mtu anamuita Kenya 1 because he topped KCSE 2002. So hata yeye ni Kenya 1. Very interesting na inspirational story. But sasa now in my poking ya kutafuta information with Dr. Bundi, I got curious. Dr. Stanley Rewire na Dr. Bundi come from the same county, same sub-county, same locality, and they've managed to be some of the finest doctors in Kenya. Now, they are a perfect example of how much an education can be an equalizer because they are starting from scratch, from poverty, ile chini kabisa, and he's managed, amekubali kukua kwa set yetu, and this is one you can't miss. So now, Dr. Keith Dindi mentioned that in speaking engagements now, it's possible to make more money than in medicine, okay? Now medicine pia ni the ultimate career. Now in my conversation with you earlier, you mentioned something in economics, inaitwa opportunity cost. Is the money worth it? When you weigh the options that being trained to your level versus the money, first of all, before we inspire people to be neurologists, is the money worth it?
Yes, but there's something more than money. The reason for training to be a neurologist was more than money. It was about passion and plugging some gaps. Being the person who will, come and plug this gap and ease the suffering. There is that big dream. So the money comes as a byproduct. I like to say in professions, all the professions, money should come as a byproduct of some good work you've done. So to me, yes, now being a neurologist, the money is worth it. But to become a neurologist, the dream was more than money. Yeah, yeah.
So now, take us through, kuna something you said nikakuwa stuck nayo, anatomy. It's a unit in medicine, sindio? Undergrad. But then sasa where you had to do a degree in it. Take us how taxing that is. Take us through how taxing that is.
Anatomy is one of the first units you do when you go to medical schools. And it is one that introduces you to even the language. Medicine is usually uses Latin. Most of the ones are Latinized.
Is that necessary?
It's because of the traditions that have been handed down, from generation to generation. But anatomy is about the human body, how the body is created. So during anatomy, we take the human body as a whole, cadavers, actually dead humans, who have either donated their bodies or unclaimed bodies, and we dissect the body down to the muscles, the bones, and the marrow. We open the skull, get the brain, study the nerves, the blood vessels. That one, every medical student has to do it. But now for me, I was lucky to be among the few who are picked in a special program by the University of Nairobi to train as an intercalated Bachelor of Science degree in human anatomy, which I did, which was much more taxing because we went to the depth of anatomy more than I would have gone as a medical student, and even research in anatomy. So that formed the foundation, of my training in medicine.
Okay.
And we were only 4 of us.
Only 4 of you. So now that's what shocked me. Unajua tunaambiwa education is an equalizer, right? There's so many other people from your village. Why couldn't they make kama it creates such an opportunity? Hapa ndio nikauliza, is it cortical lottery? Are you gifted in the pale kwa akili sana such that it makes you, kwa hiyo, less than 1% of Kenyans who can actually do that? Is it accurate to say you can inspire someone else from your village to become a neurologist?
It is possible.
How?
It is possible because it's about somebody realizing early, as I told you, early, where they want to go and that they have potential, because I believe everybody has potential. The problem, as I told you, is about when somebody gets that realization. Some realize early even without somebody prodding them. Some need people to push them. Remember, Dr. Kingori, as a neurologist, I know before the age of 23, you are practically a baby. The brain finishes development at the age of 23 years. Before then, you can actually become anything you want.
Before the age of 23,
Yes.
you can become anything you want.
Yes. After that, you are more stiff. The options narrow down, but the part of the brain that serves higher functions, cognition, higher functions, intelligence, knowing the consequences of actions, develops up to the age of 23, and it is the last part of the body to develop.
But wouldn't you say wewe uko na advantage ya kuna vile unashika kitabu different than anyone? Before high school mtu anamaliza na 17, 18,
Yeah.
right? So wewe at 18 umefagia Kenya yote kwanza. Let's start with that.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
does that give you an edge?
that gives you an edge. People are not the same in terms of getting and absorbing information. People are different.
Okay.
But that alone is not enough to make someone Kenya 1. To be Kenya 1 is there's intelligence which is natural, but there's acquired intelligence. You have to combine both of them.
Acquired intelligence.
Acquired intelligence. So you could be slow in absorbing information, but you are a go-getter, you are passionate, you are at it, you don't give up. You will still reach there. Somebody else could be very fast genetically in acquiring information, but you're not passionate, you're not hardworking, you're not patient, you'll not get there. So many factors collapse into play to make someone Kenya 1.
Sasa, in
Yes.
primary school, you said something very profound in our earlier conversation, that you did not qualify to go to Alliance
Yes.
after KCPE.
Yes.
But after going through secondary school,
Yeah.
you ulifagia kila mtu alienda Alliance when you did not qualify
Yes.
to be to go to Alliance.
Yes.
So now,
Yeah.
if we were to reset, like to get maximum value from our education system,
Yeah.
where do most people go wrong? Let's go back to upper primary. What are some of the practice? Unaona kama sai someone made fun of me juzi tukicheza at Gen Z, tukipiga story Gen Z ati wao walipewa cod liver oil, so ilifanya wao they are smarter than us. Kuna supplements kidogo pale. I think your sub county should be investigated for giving us wewe na Dr. Stanley.
No, I think where we go wrong is from upper primary, as you said. One, we don't give enough information for children to discover themselves and to know their possibilities. The exposure and the information to know the possibilities. And as was Ridley said, the nutrition.
Nutrition.
Very, very important for the brain.
Are you saying there is food that mtoto akikula, it has a direct effect to how they perform academically?
Absolutely, yes.
Break that
Absolutely. The brain, the cells in the brain are some of the most metabolically active. So undernutrition or overnutrition will get the brain not working properly. So what kind of nutrition children get as they are developing impacts on their brain capacity as they grow old. For example, I would say for me, maybe part of the reason I did not make to Alliance is I was not very well nourished early on. I had what we call catch-up growth in high school. I was very short, I was stunted. Then when I went to high school, I got kind of a catch-up growth. It goes to say, if I had an early advantage, maybe I would have ended up not in Kanyakina High School. I would have ended up somewhere else. But when I got the exposure, then I put in the other characteristics. I was passionate, I knew what I wanted, and then I went for it. But there are so many who go to Kanyakina High School, they are not passionate, they have not yet discovered themselves, and so they will not achieve their potential. So it means the child who got an early advantage is likely to go far, if you take on average.
Okay, so now what do we tell parents? Okay, for the people who are under 23, let's go as low as, let's say, teenagers.
Yes.
Early teenage, kama 12. How can you set your child up for expansive cognitive abilities that can give them the exposure to be in a place where you can be anything you want?
Absolutely. I answered that question when you asked that nothing else can expand the brain than reading. Nothing else kills the brain more than the screen. And I'm talking about reading information that is coming from a book, not on the screens. The more teenagers read, the more they are likely to spend time on other things, the more their brain expands. There is something we call neuroplasticity. The brain is plastic. The more they're able to integrate more information, and the more their worldview increases, and the more they are likely to be more focused. That's why when that child, when Einstein was talking about, that if you want your child to be a nuclear physicist, give her storybooks. Because he knew that's the way to expand the brain.
Yes.
Then the child has enough brain capacity to be a nuclear scientist. So the more children read, of course under supervision, the more their brain expands, the more they will discover even where they are talented, which ordinarily they will not discover.
So there is the reading and there is the retention.
Yes.
Like how much should you retain? Kwanza, please, there is something when you quoted your late professor in school, it's very important that we also capture that for our audience. Reading style.
Yes.
We'll break that down, alafu we go to the importance of reading, because kuna too much information, retention, and your brain has a capacity of which it can hold, I believe.
It's true.
Yes.
So when it comes to reading, there is this overlapping circles. At the center is what is must read. If you're in a high school, you know you must read biology, you must read chemistry, you must read physics, because you need it for the exam and maybe for the course you're going to do. That is must read. Then there is what is important to read. The Bible, for example, is important to read. Maybe some storybooks are important to read. Mm-hmm. Maybe to know where we are in the world. For example, the Constitution is important to read. It's not must read, but it's important to read.
Yes.
Then there's good to read. Good to read are things that are good for brain nourishment, but nobody will examine you. But still they're important in making of a person. And then there's nice to read. When you read comedy, it's nice to read. It doesn't mean it's not important. It's very important for brain nourishment.
Yes.
But nobody will really fault you if you don't read a comic book.
Yes.
If you don't read a biography. But it is nice. But in all that circle, everything there is important. The only difference is how much time and focus are you going to give it. That is what makes the difference.
Balance.
For example, you cannot read something that is nice to read when you have not read what is must read. Okay. You start with what is must read. A child has to do their homework, for example. That's must read. But then you can give them Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. That's nice to read. That's additional information. And that additional information will feed into their core information. When they are told to write a composition, the one who has read Alibaba will write better than the one who has just read the English book. That is how these things interrelate. When it comes to retention, the mind retains like this. It retains what it likes. It retains what it does. It has read many times. It retains lived experiences. Like now we've come for this book launch and we have lived through an experience of the author reading a chapter. The mind is likely to retain that more than the other chapters. So those are retention techniques.
Okay.
When something is acted, it is retained better. When something is performed, it is retained better. When it is just read, unless it was extremely interesting, it might not be retained. But there's indirect retention. You might not retain the content, but you retain the framework of thinking, the vocabulary, the thinking, the ethos of thinking. So not all books you read will you retain anything, but they help you in your worldview, constructing your worldview. So even the non-retained content, you cannot regurgitate it. It's still important.
So is it possible, when you say the brain in a mature at 23, you become rigid, is it possible to build some of the things you have missed? Like let's say, for example, we've seen people, there's something you said in terms of the element of time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you discover yourself, but the time for you to do that is long gone.
The opportunity is gone.
The opportunity is gone.
Yeah.
Can you I believe this is neuroplasticity.
Yes.
Can you force yourself to learn a new skill that would expand your retention capacity and your grasp of things?
You can. Absolutely, it's possible. Yes. You spend more time, more money, more energy.
Yes.
If you are under 23 and you are teaching yourself a new skill, it's a little easier. If you're over 23, you can still learn. The brain neuroplasticity extends up to across life. They say you cannot teach an old dog new tricks, but actually you can, as far as the brain is concerned. But the amount of effort and time you put will be more. And then what kind of environment? If I'm a doctor working, if I'm teaching myself to write, it would have been easier when I was in the university than when I'm working. Because now I'm more engaged in patient care, more pressing issues. I might not have a lot of free time. That's what I mean by opportunity. But if I put my mind to it, yes, it will take me time and a lot of effort and maybe money, but I can still learn it.
It is possible.
It is possible, yes.
So now, as we close, I hate how short this is, but as we close, your motivation, was your motivation running away from poverty, or how much money you can make by venturing into medicine?
My motivation, all of them were my motivation, but the biggest was running away from poverty.
The biggest was running away from poverty?
Yes. That was, in high school, that was my biggest motivation. I wanted to see my area better, my school better, my home better, the circumstances in my family better. But now when I became a doctor, initially as an undergraduate, now my motivation became exploring more, you know, and making full use of my potential.
Yes.
By that time, I realized, because by the time you finish university, you are 24, 25, that money is a byproduct of the good work that you do. I realized that already.
Money is a byproduct
of the good work you do. You are good as an MC. First, you focus on being a good MC, then money comes. But if you focus on money first, then you won't be a good MC, and the money might not come. You might lose both of them.
Yes.
So that has been my passion, that I perfect a skill, then I do a good work in that skill, then money will come. That is actually the principle of excellence and success. It is excellence you should pursue first, not success. Then success is guaranteed. But if you pursue success, excellence is not guaranteed. And even success itself is not guaranteed.
Aye. So now, I'd like you to tell us about your book, because I'd like to read it first. And I promise, Wadau, if your schedule allows, we'd like to invite you to our podcast. So 2 things.
Yeah.
Tell us about your book. And then there's also something interesting. You said you are an example of how brilliant Kenyans can be, and the boundaries people can push. Okay? So, and I asked you, we had a conversation with Mzee Joe Geshoro from Nakuru. Very interesting episode. And he told us that the Kenyans don't make discoveries in terms of breakthrough, say, in medicine, because the research is done by foreign universities. We actually have that bite. Exactly. So you also allude to the same. Kenyans do not participate in research because of how expensive it is. But then again, when I asked you on the value in terms of sponsoring research locally, it was mind-blowing. Please, tuambie hiyo, alafu tuambie about your book, we close.
Yes, to make a good discovery, you need money, you need a team. You need teams. Very few people make discoveries on their own, especially scientific discoveries. Even those scientists, from Robert Koch, Albert Einstein, they worked in teams with many research assistants and statisticians and the laboratories and such. So the environment for making a discovery is not a simple environment. For example, I'll give you an example. To discover a drug, okay, and know whether it is safe for the people and its efficacy, there is no drug that has been discovered without using at least 2 billion Kenya shillings. That is a list.
Yes.
Okay?
Kama Panadol, for example. Discovering Panadol would cost 2 billion.
Would cost 2 billion because first you start by studying it in animals. That's how you know it. First, it can alleviate pain. It is safe. It's not a killer. That's where you start usually. That means you have to have an animal lab and animal scientist. You are the vision bearer, but you have people who can study animals. Then after that, you study it in a select few people who are almost dying. That's usually what we call phase 1 trials. So these people, maybe they have pain or other medications have not worked. You add that on top of standard treatment. When it works, you go to phase 2. But then you're going to phase 3, you are doing a population-wide study. And if you are studying a drug, you have to cater for the treatment, any complications, and all the investigations you need on those patients. If you are studying a drug that makes the brain bigger, you are the one to cater for imaging the brain, for example. If the patients are coming from Kisumu, you are the one to transport them. If one of them gets an adverse effect from the treatment, you are the one to cater for everything. That's how expensive it is. And that's why now our research is very elementary. Well, research in the US, for example, where a lot of money is pumped into universities, is very advanced. It's not that the scientists there are better, it's that they get more money. And then if you are a scientist, you are employed by university, you don't teach. You just sit there and think and generate ideas and direct your team and report at the end of the year, this is what I've done. That's what makes research complicated. But again, without research, the world cannot progress.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So 2 billion, for example, I like that Panadol example. When you invest like 2 billion and then you get a breakthrough that this is the drug, what is the value in terms of return? What does that look like?
It will be immense for the country and for so many people. It will create employment for so many people. It will maybe prevent so many deaths. For example, there is a war going on between the US and Iran.
Yes.
What has made the Iranians not be decimated on the first day are the discoveries they have made. These people sat amidst all the sanctions, put in scientists, and made weapons with almost zero. Those are the products of research. Those missiles can fly 2,000 kilometers. Those are the effects of research. And if they were to tell us one missile or one drone, because they discovered these drones, they're low-flying Shahid, calling them Shahid drones, those are scientists. And if you realize, Israel started by targeting the scientists first. They started an assassination campaign against scientists long before the war. As scientists would be walking around in Tehran, then they are blown off. Because they know that's where the knowledge starts. So these Shahid drones, they are being sold around the world. Iran is benefiting from the ideas of scientists.
And that's a lot of money.
A lot of money. Like Russia has bought so many of those drones.
Yes.
I mean, maybe that's what's keeping the economy of Iran, afloat.
Yes.
So we can discover our own type of drones. Who knows?
The investment in technology has solid returns and research.
Solid returns for the nation, for the future, for the economy. It has solid returns. It's only that because we are chasing, as a nation, maybe we chase short-term benefits, we don't see that.
I hope people get, to put it in context, if, say, for example, on average, that costs 2 billion. With the money we lose in corruption, that shows you the potential if that money was put to better use.
Absolutely,
Now tell us about your book.
So my book is called Escort in Chief, Through the Eyes of a Physician. As opposed to surgeons, as physicians, we walk the journey with patients. For example, if I'm a neurologist, one of the conditions I treat is Parkinson's disease, for example.
Is it curable?
No, it is not.
It's just manageable?
It's manageable, it's not curable. That means from the time I diagnose you have Parkinson's disease to the end of your life, I have to walk the journey with you.
Escort in chief.
So that's my work, is to escort patients through life, from the fears, the pains, and the doubts of life. I have so many patients with heart failure, liver failure, nerve problems, stroke, heart attacks, high blood pressure, diabetes. And I know that these patients, none of those conditions has a magic bullet. So I ask myself, how can I work with these patients so that they are most productive in what they do, they live a life a little free of stress, and they achieve their potential to the maximum. So the book is full of stories on what I've done with the patients. It's about the stories of resilience, the stories of chronic disease, and even emergencies, because we handle emergencies. So it is through my eyes. As a physician working in the districts, the patients are escorted through life, and of course drawing lessons from it. So I'll get a copy of the book. I hope you stock with Nuria. Do you stock with Absolutely, Nuria? Yes. And copies of the book are here.
Very nice. I'll actually buy one. Alafu, for you watching, you can get, we've put a link that directs you straight to Nuria when unaweza pata Dr. Stanley's book, Blade Wisdom, na Escort in Chief ya Dr. Bundi. The links ziko hapa chini directly, and Nuria delivers across the country. So ukiklik tu na uende umake order, umalize prompts zote, the book will be delivered to any corner of the country you're in. Nikishamaliza kusoma Escort in Chief, I'll check with Dr. Bundi if his schedule allows. I'm happy to sit down in a podcast with him. It's proper, legit vibes, good vibes na wisdom. Asante sana for making time for us.
Thank you, sir.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
Haya.
Okay.